Hey, hey, what's up? It's Izzy here with I Do the Most, and I'm back today with some of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So I figured I'd start it off with the spell cards today. First one up is Spell Absorption. Each time a spell card is activated, gain 500 life points immediately after it resolves. Now, this card is really good with decks that are heavy with spell card usage. Not just for the life point gain, that's kind of like the secondary benefit in my opinion, but like setting up chains as well. So decks like Black Rose Garden, if you're running a bunch of quick play spells and stuff like that, you could set up chains real quick and use chain link summoning. I think that's what the card is called, where you can get extra normal summons depending on what chain link number it is. A dope card to pretty much put in a deck that could use the extra power, or a deck that is heavy on sacrificing life points, like Archfiends. I'm not sure how many spell cards they use, but I'm pretty sure spell absorption would be a pretty decent card to toss into that. Second one is Catapult Zone. It's a field spell. Once per turn, if a monster you control will be destroyed by battle, you can send one rock type monster from your deck to the graveyard instead. This card is really good. It works with spell absorption as well. It's really good with protecting your monsters for one battle phase, but it's also good for setting up your graveyard with rock types. Setting up for cards like Block Dragon, or sending Block Dragon directly from your deck to the graveyard so that you're ready to use it whenever. Block Dragon, of course, protects your rock type monsters from being destroyed by card effects. You can special summon it from your graveyard or your hand, I believe, by removing 3 rock type monsters from play from your graveyard. Another card that I usually use as a target for Catapult Zone is Revival Golem. Revival Golem, when it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can activate one of these effects, special summon it to your side of the field, or you can add it to your hand from your graveyard. Now, the special summoning is usually what I go for. I don't normally need it in my hand for any reason, but if I were to need it, it's there. But the special summoning, it's a good way to have put a 2100 body on the field, or set up for a rank 4 Exceed play, or synchro summoning, link summoning, tribute summoning, like you name it's just no downside to it. There is another level 4 rock type monster that I also use with Catapult Zone called Tackle Crusader. When it's sent from the deck to the or when it's sent to the graveyard, period, whether from field, hand, or deck, you can change a monster's battle position, or you can flip it face down, I believe. Either that or change its battle position. I don't remember which one. So it's definitely a good card to kind of counteract those hyper aggressive decks. Some other cards that work really well with Catapult Zone are the Electromagnetic Warriors. They're all level 3 Earth Rock type monsters. Mind you, every monster I named so far were Rock Earth type monsters, level 3 and level 4. So you can also open up the rank 3 engine, which with the Electromagnetic Warriors, this monster, Gorgonic Guardian, is a prime target to go into because of its ability. You can detach one of its materials to basically shut out your opponent's monster's effects, and it also turns their attack points to 0. So if you use this card's effect on your turn, it also has a secondary effect where if they have a face-up monster with 0 attack points, you can send it straight to the graveyard. So that's, yeah, it's a staple for any Electromagnetic Warrior deck or any level 3 rock deck. And all of this can be accomplished with setting up with Catapult Zone. I'm shocked that not too many people use it. I mean, like, most of the people that I played against, they don't see the card as a threat because they're like, he gets to protect his monster for one hit. But it's like it's so much more than that. I like those cards that seem like they don't really benefit you that much because people won't go out of their way to get rid of it until they realize exactly how much good and usage you're getting from it. Alright, my next card is Burden of the Mighty. It's an old school card I used to run, a continuous spell that each face up monster your opponent control loses 100 attack times its level. So, with Blue Eyes being a common deck and like a lot of other decks that run really high monsters, but they rely on special summoning. Now, I know that Link monsters is the way to go nowadays, but synchro monsters are still relevant and big main deck boss monsters are still relevant, and level 8 and higher they're all losing 800. So a 3000 attack point monster drops down to 2200 attack points, and now it's in the range of a level 5 level 6 monster versus where it's a level 8 level 9 monster normally in that power range. So that, along with Black Garden, usually shuts down a lot of hyper aggressive decks because Black Garden cuts their attack points in half. Burden of the Mighty drops their attack points by their level. So say somebody brought out Blue Eyes, Black Garden would drop it down to 1500. Burden of the Mighty would take 800 more of its attack points. Blue Eyes now has 700 attack points. So you took 2300 of its attack points simply just by having two cards out there. It's a good way to shut down things. Um, does absolutely nothing to Link monsters or XYZ monsters, though, unfortunately. And those are two of the most common types of monsters, but it has its place in my heart. The next card is Bubonic Vermin. It's a really old school card. This is one of the first cards that I really used that reoccurred in a sense. When it's flipped face up, you can special summon a Bubonic Vermin from your deck and face down defense position. This is when I first started trying out synchro monsters. It was like this would be my main first turn play to kind of see what my opponent was running and what they would do. They attack into it. I bring another one out on my turn. I'd flip that, bring the third one out, and then synchro summon with this or XYZ summon with this. Not the strongest strategy, and nowadays there's so many ways to destroy monsters without having to attack it into them. And generally, if somebody has one monster on the field, they're going to try to find a way to out it without having to destroy it or attack into it if possible. But it still holds a place in my heart. Next one is Skelosaurus. Now, this one is one of my favorite cards because of its potential. I haven't found too many solid Gemini plays, but his effect is when it becomes a Gemini monster, it becomes an Earth dinosaur type. When this card destroys an opponent monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to your side of the field and face up defense position. Um, if you do, it becomes a zombie type. So I see the potential of really taking advantage of this in a zombie deck, a dragon deck, or just a control deck. Because if you really power up Skelosaurus and protect it, it's a card that will keep your opponent's monsters from hitting the graveyard and floating. It's also a card that you can use their monsters to extend your plays or just beef up your field. It's a lot of potential behind it. I haven't had the chance to tinker with it entirely too much, but the times that I did get to pull off some pretty decent moves with it, even if it's just one move, like it did its job. So I respect that. Next, I got Beast King Barbaros. Uh, you can normal summon or set this monster without tributing, but its original attack will become 1900. You can tribute 3 monsters to tribute summon this card. If you do, destroy all cards your opponent control. So that's basically a nuke for your opponent's side if you tribute 3 monsters to bring it out. Now, mind you, solemn cards are out there. There are a lot of cards that people run to negate effects and stuff. So now tributing using three cards in hopes that this card pop off is a big gamble, but if it pays off, it's fucking marvelous. You got a 3,000 attack point beater ready to just attack your opponent directly with nothing in your way. But in addition to that, some of the other cards I used to run with it was called Axe of Fools, I believe. It was an equip card that when equipped to the monster, it gives them 1,000 attack points, but their effects become negated. So even if you brought it out without tributing, its effect that drops its attack to 1,900 becomes nullified. He has his 3,000 plus that extra 1,000, so he's at 4,000. Pretty much running over anything in the game. That was a solid play that I used to use in the past. But nowadays, equip spells, eh. I mean, casual play, it's still fun to pull off and stuff like that. I imagine if I was to actually step into a more competitive scene, stuff like that wouldn't work because people have monsters that can pop off their effects multiple times in a turn and move things and destroy things and stuff like that. So I wouldn't bank on it in that kind of a setting. Also, it's a Beast Warrior. There's a lot of Beast Warrior decks out there that could really take advantage of that. It's a level 8, so it can go into uh Coach Coach King Giant Trainer, I think his name is. The monster that allows them to draw up to 3 times, and each monster does 800 damage. So there's that going from as well. My next card is Scrubbed Raid. It's a continuous trap card. During the battle phase, you can send one card you control to the graveyard, except this card, to end the battle phase. Now, this card pissed a lot of people off because any card that just completely ends your opponent battle phase is an obnoxious card and people generally hate you for it. And I think it's a fair trade off. You send in a card and you're ending the battle phase, and like you're not doing anything to your opponent other than not giving them the chance to do anything during the battle. And you can activate it at any time. You can allow them to attack into your monsters. You can allow them to go through this and go through that, and then choose to activate it. You can do it at the start of their battle phase so they don't even get a chance to use their monster's effects or whatever the case may be. And also, sending your cards to the graveyard can be incorporated into different strategies. One of the decks that I run this in is the Ojama deck, because a lot of decks that shut down the Ojama decks are decks that keep you from special summoning. But with the Oja Magic card, when that's sent to the graveyard, you can add the 3 vanilla Ojamas to your hand, and that does a couple things. It thins your deck by 3 cards, so the other cards that you need to draw onto you're more likely to get. Also, it gives you 3 materials in your hand that you can use as discard fodder. As I run stuff like reload in that deck, or magical mallet, which allows you to reshuffle cards into your deck. So sometimes I need a secondary out to it. Like in that deck, and most of my Ojama builds, it's more built around powering them up. Like I can get them to 10,000, 20,000 attack points and stuff like that, like real easy with Closed Forest as the field spell. And then Ronin Raccoon, the XYZ rank 2 monster that takes on the monsters on the field with the highest attack points stacked with Closed Forest. Each time you do that, it like stacks. It get real ridiculous real fast. So like, and then this is like my defensive option for that deck. There are other decks that it works really well for. Like anything that sends things to the graveyard, you can take advantage of Scrubbed Raid. All right, next up, ABC Dragon Buster. I kind of have him here as the standalone for the ABC archetype because that has been one of my favorite archetypes since I tried it out. I even did an ABC electromagnetic warrior deck combination, and that worked pretty well for a while. I don't remember how the hell I made it mix, but the way I did it, it was so perfect because like the ABCs would I could tag out, well, ABC Buster Dragon I can tag out at any time to bring in the other three. And the electromagnetic warriors on the opponent turn, when they would try to destroy them or target them or something like that, I can tag them out. So then when I bring in the boss monsters, this one can banish a card of theirs once per turn by discarding something, which again, graveyard setup in that case, plus banishing something. Plus you can tag out and go into your three pieces when you need to. And the boss monster from the electromagnetic warriors can negate a card effect once per turn, and when it's destroyed you can bring in the other two main deck boss monsters. So it got a little ridiculous, and people would get pissed off when I played it and when it was working at its maximum capacity. The only thing about it is one is machine deck and the other one is a rock deck. There aren't too many cards that kind of work well with both play styles in that sense, but I think that's a part of the reason I was always allured to Yu-Gi-Oh, for the challenge of deck building and saying putting cards together that normally don't go together or normally aren't seen together. So that's ABC Buster Dragon Buster. And the last card is Kageki, the legendary Six Samurai. I love the Six Samurais. It goes without saying, any Six Samurai player knows Kageki. Its ability is when it's normal summon, you can special summon one level 4 or lower Six Samurai monster from your hand. While you control a face-up Six Samurai monster with a different name, this card gains 1500 attack points. Now the second part of its effect ain't really too relevant. It does bring it up to 1700, so if you need an extra attack for whatever reason with a 1700 attack point monster, that's a thing. But most people use it, including myself, to bring in monsters to go into Shien, which is their synchro monster, the level 5 one. You bring in a level 2 tuner and sync them two together. Shien's effect is that your opponent can only activate one spell or trap per turn. And then if you have the Great Shogun Shien out there, he can negate one spell or trap card a turn, so you can basically shut them out of their spells and traps if you got both of them monsters out there. And that was a very common combination that people used with Six Samurais, and Kageki made that possible. Because I think the only thing that you needed to bring in Shogun Shien was to have two Six Samurais on the field. Then you could just special summon it from your hand. Now you got two 2500 attack point monsters shutting down their spells and traps, and they gotta only rely on their monsters. It was a solid play. And then they also had I want to say Enshi's Chancellor. I'm not sure exactly what his name is, but it was the 2200 level 6 monster that once per turn you could just destroy one of your opponent's monsters. You had to give up his attack, but 2200 isn't the greatest attack points. It's solid, but if they had something out there that you couldn't run over with your other monsters, you just pop it with that. And now you got a monster that blows up cards, and you got a monster that shut down his back row. So it was like, that was pretty much game if they didn't have a way around that. But yeah, that's the last card I'm going to go over today. I think I'm going to do another one in the near future. But if you like these kind of videos, I ask that you leave a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, what I do here is I do pack openings for Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon as well. I also do RPG playthroughs with some kind of challenge involved. Me and Tiffany are planning a new kind of Soul Link on Pokemon. I'll give you more information as we finalize the details and iron them out. But if that sounds like something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's gonna be lit, guys. That's Tiffany. Also hit the bell to be notified when these things are being uploaded. That way you don't miss out on any new content. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. You have yourself a good day. Peace.